A note to the viewers. The script, artwork, characters, and content of this video is owned by Wizards of the Coast, the owners and creators of Magic the Gathering. The Planeswalker's Guide to the Streets of New Capenna was written by Miguel Lopez and posted on Magic the Gathering website on April 28, 2022. A link to the original article is down in the description. The Planeswalker's Guide to Streets of New Capenna by Miguel Lopez. Welcome to New Capenna, a glittering city of chrome and iron, an icon of progress and rebirth from the ashes of an old, tired plane. This is a city that demands and rewards hustle, grit, and determination, a place where the higher you climb, the nicer the view, and the further you might fall. New Capenna is a city for the young and the hungry. Standing alone on a vast plain, it's a city where you can become what you dream. A City Alone, the history of New Capenna. Capenna before. The people of New Capenna act like there was no history before the city. They're wrong. There was a plane out there centuries ago, one of many cities, kings, cultures, and wonders. That Capenna, old Capenna, is gone, lost in a cataclysmic war against a forgotten enemy, the same war that prompted the creation of New Capenna, the towering city. While there might be pockets of civilization out there in the unknown, as far as the people of New Capenna are concerned, their city is the plane. Defiant against the end. Safety in New Capenna's heights came at the cost of memory, living and recorded, and saw history transmuted into myth and legend. The invaders ate hope, turned parents against their children, and poisoned the plane for millennia. It was only through the intervention of Old Capenna's archangels and their hosts that the plane's mortal defenders stood a chance. Allied with these divine warriors, Old Capenna's defenders managed to hold a small pocket of land, encircled but defiant against the end. In these defenders, the roots of the modern five families can be found. The paladins that would go on to become the brokers, the druids that would become the cabaretti, the weaponsmiths and artisans that would become the riveteers, the oracles that would become the obscura, and the aristocrats that bankrolled them all, the noble classes that would become the maestros. Hope shielded by fire. The invading enemy sent their forces again and again against the spears of Old Capenna's final defenders. And though the angels and mortals held, it was plain to the archangels that they could not win. The enemy's numbers were inexhaustible. In addition to their own knights, the enemy added the mortal dead to their number, sending the animated corpses of fallen defenders to fight against their comrades. To save the people of Old Capenna from this fate, and the plane from total defeat, the archangels turned to an old familiar enemy, the archdemons of Old Capenna. A fortress above. While the allied armies of Old Capenna held the line, the archangels and archdemons together raised a shining tower, a mighty fortress that pierced the clouds. As quickly as they could, the people of Old Capenna hurried to the safety of the fortress tower, lending their own labor to build it higher, to fill it with streets and parks, boulevards and buildings that looked like home, and stood in shining defiance of the enemy that swarmed the plain outside. This place would hold the plane. This fortress became a city the people called New Capenna. The plane is dead. Long live the plane. The allied forces of the archangels, mortals, and archdemons were the last to enter the city, after holding open corridors for refugees to stream into the lower elevators. The enemy never stopped. Legends tell of the last battle of the war being fought on the final elevator, with allied soldiers throwing enemy knights off the rising platform as it approached the underbelly of the city. The enemy rebuffed, the last elevator arrived, and New Capenna was sealed to all below. A stark question. With the surviving population of the plane safe inside New Capenna, the archangels and archdemons let the people celebrate. However, the archangels could not find joy, as they knew a dark truth. This tower, for all its might and defiance, would still not be enough to stop the enemy. Though well defended and difficult to access, if the enemy could find a way inside, which they would never stop trying to find, the war would rage here as it did far below. Thus the city's architects puzzled over a stark question. How could they guarantee the safety of the city and the plane upon which it stood when they were so grossly outnumbered? A bleak answer. While the archangels puzzled, the archdemons of Capenna plotted. During the war, Capenna's archangels and their angelic hosts ravaged the enemy with their mere presence. The archdemons studied this divine natural weapon and realized that if they could trap angels and distribute their essence across the whole of New Capenna, maybe even out into Old Capenna, they could drive the enemy back and ensure the city and their people would be saved. Alone, though, they could not accomplish their betrayal. so the Archdemons sent their whisperers to the ears of mortal, power-hungry Capennans, planting a bleak answer to the question of the future. Trap the angels, and let an age of demons begin. Demon Town, Part 1. The Archdemons' 5 mortal champions were minor leaders and influential petty aristocrats, charismatic in their own ways and already gathering small but passionate followings. Rafine, a controversial fortune-telling sphinx who long believed she was an instrument of prophecy. Lord Xander, an ailing artist of an all-but-dead aristocratic house, jealous over the critical acclaim his younger peers received. Zayatora, a young dragon berserker and bandit leader who lived to fight and dreamed only of power. Jetmir, a prodigal son turned hermit druid who refused his order's asceticism, indulged in wild, hedonistic parties, and never wanted the music to stop. These 4 were gathered by the final Archdemon champion, a brilliant, uncompromising, utterly fanatical lawyer, Falco Spara. Demon Town, Part 2. Eager to gain a slice of New Capenna before all wedges of power were claimed, these mortals gave themselves over to the Archdemons, whose plot against the Archangels could only be accomplished through the Archdemons' own mutual sacrifice. The 5 became demonic hybrids, gifted and cursed by the Archdemons bound to them, their vices magnified and powers enhanced. Together with their Archdemon patrons, these demon hybrids and their followers took advantage of a sudden slumber that struck the invaders' forces, its cause unknown but nevertheless welcome, to act on their plan and achieve success beyond their most optimistic projections. In place of a prolonged battle, the Archdemons and the 5 captured the Archangels and their hosts during a citywide celebration of victory. While the people were told the Archangels had voluntarily sacrificed themselves to send the enemy into a slumber, the 5 and their organizations, their families, suppressed the grim truth that the Archdemons had used the angels in the defense of the city, trapping them in a kind of stasis that saw their physical bodies converted, slowly, into the fuel of the new age, Halo. The business of crime. In the modern era, the 5 families have settled in to dominate niche industries and command territory in the city's 3 boroughs, operating in full view of each other and in secret. A nominal, all but vestigial city government ensures the lights stay on, the water is clean, and the streets are kept in good repair. Law as other planes know it, a crown or government and a police force with hard rules and penalties for those who break them, does not exist in New Capenna. Instead, there is an agreement, a code agreed to by the 5 families. This code, first drafted by Falco and agreed to by the leaders of the 5 families, establishes the loose rules of peace. As long as you stay in your lane, you may do what you like. Renting peace. With no city authority to regulate them, the families must keep themselves in line. Fronts, subterfuge, and clandestine operations are played out as mutually understood theater. They all do it, and they all understand that it is polite to try and hide their flaunting of the rules, a nod to the fact that the rules exist. Flexibility, allowances, favors, and looking the other way is key in New Capenna. As long as no one family attempts to take too much for themselves, neither will the other families, and there is peace in New Capenna. This is a bloody kind of peace, to be sure. Enforcers and street-level bosses scrap and fight, goons become bodies, small shipments go missing. But to the families, those are acceptable losses. Rent, paid to prevent war. The sacrifice. The vast population of New Capenna had no knowledge of the Archdemons' betrayal of the Archangels and the 5 families' power grab. The invasion had raged for centuries. They were exhausted, scared, and hungry for safety. If ineffective kings and weak administrators couldn't provide it for them, then maybe these new organizations, these 5 families with their charismatic leaders, could. The angels sacrificed themselves to gift you this city, the family bosses said. They gave themselves up to make Halo, to distribute it across the city and throughout the air itself, so that you could be safe and prosperous, industrious, working to build this city ever higher and grander, with the hope to one day return to the plane below when the angels' sacrifice is complete. The people accepted this proposition. They thanked the angels for their sacrifice, let the comforting shield of Halo fall over them and erase the past, and then got to work. Whatever happened to the rest of the plane? In the present day, New Capenna is a bustling hive, a plane in a city that towers miles into the sky atop a forest of structural columns and anchors, surrounded by a skirt of wires and a shield of diffuse halo, the very essence of the angels. To the people of New Capenna, the threat that drove their ancestors into the city is so distant as to be all but forgotten. That was the old plane, out there, and long ago. On occasion, new arrivals with old names ride the ancient lifts up from below, bringing with them stories of hard-lived lives and wasteland nightmares, but they find that few in New Capenna are very interested in what happens outside of the city. In time, these new immigrants too find themselves forgetting. The pace of the city demands it. New Capenna is the city of opportunity, a place to forget who you were, a place to write a new future as you seek a new fortune or build a new life on this plane. Last call. When we arrive to New Capenna, we discover the facade of peace between the 5 families is beginning to crumble. Halo, a viscous, divine, oil-like fluid in high demand for its magic-enhancing and curative power, is running out. The families all sense the end is coming, even if they don't know the shape or method by which it will arrive. Already they've begun stockpiling as much Halo as they can, and there's little enough to go around. Places and people once understood to be off-limits have become targets. The violence once restricted to the docks and warehouses of the Chaldea and the alleys of the Metzio have crept up to splatter the golden streets of the Park Heights. None of the 5 families know what happens next, but all of them agree on one thing: the balance of power in the city is shifting. The rules they used to live by no longer apply. Halo, the thing that saved the city once, might doom it now. Angels, once thought vanished from the plains, are starting to return. The archdemons who granted the families their power are distant. The party is about to come to a crashing halt, and none of the families want to be left to pick up the tab. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to stay updated for more Magic story, lore, and legends on MTG Sagas.